Welcome to the Alliance Merit Process. This is an exciting idea that we've put together over the last 20 years, a full process to help businesses solve key critical problems that are going on, especially today as we go through massive change in our environment. And let's take a look at what some of those business processes and problems are that we're all confronted with today. We have the problem of globalization, and what do we do about it? New strategies are being created around that, which requires new infrastructure. We have the problem of more customer expectations and higher demands as we increase competition across the world and across the country. We have the problem of what do we do about how to use technology and how does that impact our culture today. We have the problem of always profitability. How do we get the squeeze out of more and more profit based on all the changes that are occurring today as we try to increase our strength towards more and better competitive solutions. And of course, we're dealing with an international economy, whereas before we were dealing with a domestic economy that's also impacting our business today. We always have the changing employee values, and now we have to deal with integrity. So if you have these kinds of critical problems in your organization, I think you're going to appreciate what we put together to solve some of those problems through an entire what we call an integrated process called the Merit Integrated Approach. Now, what kind of remedies do we have to solve these? Most businesses are looking at new strategies, and with new strategies comes new visions, new directions, but also a new culture. Because what we have to do is have the infrastructure behind the vision and strategy in order to go forward. So they're designing new visions, new missions, new opportunities for growth based on that vision and mission. But what we know what has to be done today is to align the culture behind that vision and mission in order to make the vision and mission a reality. So how do I get hundreds of, and sometimes thousands of employees on the same page, in the same direction as I'm trying to take the company towards the new vision and the changes that we want to make in our culture? How do I make sure the infrastructure is set right so that we're dealing with that kind of a culture? How do I improve the competencies of my people so that they're all focused on what's going to make that type of a vision and mission happen, and I can make my strategies much more successful? And how do I create the disciplines to make this happen over time? And that's the essence of what we've considered to be the Merit Integrated Methodology. Now, part of that is, what's the strategic alignment we're talking about? Well, it's aligning your strategy with the people that are going to make it happen, and that's your employees and staff, with the managers who have to buy into that strategy and support it, but also with the process. And the process has to be, in this case, customer friendly. And what are we focused on? As you can see in this, what we consider to be a customer diamond, which makes the customer the most essential part of everything we do, okay? We have to look at what the customer expects from us in order to deliver to the values that they have, whether it's improved quality, faster response, new opportunities for themselves to grow in their own business capacity. Whatever the product that you're delivering, we start with what the customer focuses on and then bring it back into the strategy. And I know you'll agree with me that that's one of the key elements. So our approach is a systematic approach designed over many years and used by some of the nation's largest corporations in order to take the strategy and the vision and mission we have, drive it through the organization, and make it truly a culture so that every employee is on the same page. Let's walk through this for just a few minutes. It begins with the vision and mission of the organization and how well it's incorporated and how well it's indoctrinated into the lives of all the employees, and that means communication. Well, it doesn't stop there, and that's where most corporations tend to have a failure. They think that just because they have a vision and mission, everyone understands it. What we try to do is appropriate that to everyone's job and responsibility. So we deal with the responsibilities and the job roles of every individual first by taking a quick look at how their jobs and responsibilities align with the strategy. The second thing anybody would want to know if it works for an organization is, well, what behaviors are you asking me to change that would allow me to lead towards the goals of the organization? Is there any behavior? Is there any changes that I have to do in what I do on a day-to-day basis? By the way, how will I be measured on those changes of values and changes of direction you're asking me to make? By the way, what's in it for me is a common saying by any employee of any organization. Is there anything in this for me? So what's the incentive plan look like? Well, did you know that only 20% of all incentives have anything to do with the vision and mission of an organization? What we want to do is align the reward structure so that it deals with what you're trying to accomplish as the key vision and mission of your organization. And so we have to put that in alignment, and that's what it's called, the key alignment of all the human resource values here. The people, what they have to do, how they're measured, and how they're incented to do what you're asking them to do to accomplish that vision and mission. But that's not enough. The second half of this is, what about the process? Is the process also aligned with the vision and mission? My products, my marketing efforts, how I support the products in my sales, my whole service elements, the operations elements of the organization. Are they all in line now with that vision and mission? Now, once they're all in a line, now I have an alignment of the infrastructure of the organization that deals with making my vision and mission a reality. But it's still not enough. Because then you have to come back in and say, okay, now what changes in the behavior that I'm asking people to do because of key competence? Now, as we look at the competence of the organization, we want to make sure that those competencies that we're looking at, again, are in line with the vision and mission and the strategies of the organization. So that's when we design and tailor a curriculum that deals just with those issues. And we roll that out in a very special way. Because training alone and even the infrastructure aren't the panacea. We want one more dimension that will be added to it to reinforce that. And what we've added is what we call the special leader coach process. And that's a process that looks at how we can take people out of the field, not only educate them on how to continue to train your people in small group sessions. That's called the leader trainer process. Ours goes way beyond taking people out of the field to make them trainers. We take people out of the field and make them leaders, coaches, mentors, and models of the change. So here you have the infrastructure of what we consider to be the change champions seated throughout the organizations, also leading small group discussions to change the competencies and reinforce those competencies of your organization for years to come, well after any other consultant comes in and does a 3-day training program. And that's what makes this unique and special, but it makes it happen. Thank you very much.